Hi, it's Kathleen from Bailey Academy. Mom of 5, homeschooling 3 of them, ages 9, 12, and almost 16. Whoa. Kids are getting old. Today I'm participating in a collab originally by the Secular and Free Homeschool, but she's having issues with her YouTube. So this playlist, which I will link below for you to check out, is hosted by Michelle G. And her channel is just Michelle G. So any YouTuber who is homeschool YouTuber who is sharing book recommendations, that's the theme, book recommendations of books for kids, books for moms and dads, as well as some people might share books they don't recommend. Today I'm not sharing anything I don't recommend, just what is recommended, and some upcoming books that we haven't read yet, but I've received to review and I wanted to share with you. So just so you know, I will let you know up front if any of these books I received from the PR or the company to promote. However, I did not guarantee them a spot in YouTube. I just said that I might mention them in a future video if I like their book. So yeah, I just want to put that out there. Okay, so I tried to make some sort of order out of this. First of all, I'll show you some of the upcoming books that could be, some are read aloud, some are nonfiction to use in school. Sorry if I look down a lot, I'm looking at my notes. So the first one I want to share is Kate DiCamillo, I might be saying that wrong, The Magician's Elephant. This is a special Netflix cover, because the show has the book has a Netflix series, or movie now, and that you can get it. So I did receive this for review, for writing on my blog, and I wanted to share in the video that I did read most of it pre-reading. I haven't read it to the kids yet, enough to get the idea of the book, and it's very interesting. It's good, but it's not your usual fare. It's mystical and magical. It says in the back, orphan Peter Augustus Duchenne has one question for the fortune teller. If his sister is still alive, how can he find her? The answer is unexpected. Follow the elephant. Unbelievable? Perhaps, but true. So this is very interesting. So I recommend that so far, although I haven't seen it what the kids think yet. Another one by the same publisher. Now this one I saw recommended, and unfortunately I don't remember who recommended it, but I saw it recommended in a Facebook group, and I just had to have it, so I contacted the company to see if they would send me a copy, and if not, I was planning to buy it myself. But they did send me one called Killer Underwear Invasion, How to Spot Fake News, Disinformation, and Conspiracy Theories by Elise Gravel. That's what it looks like. This book is awesome. I read the whole thing. I haven't read it to the kids yet because we haven't done media literacy yet, but I just got to show you some of the pages. I'm not going to do that for every book, but this one is just so amazing. The table of contents. What is fake news? Why do people make up news? Why is disinformation such a bad thing? What happens when fake news blows up? Why do we believe fake news? And how to tell real news from fake news. So, for example, starts off, it's like little cartoons. And it says, first let me explain what news is. News is information about important stuff that's happening in the world right now. And fake news is news that's fake? Congratulations. It's news that is made up. We also call it disinformation. We hear about fake news a lot these days, but it's nothing new. It has always existed. Hear ye, an evil magician turned the king into a goat. What? LOL. In 1835, the New York Sun published a series of articles that said that unicorns, human bats, and two-legged beavers had been discovered on the moon. Guess whether that was true or false. Answer, false. Good job. If fake news has always existed, why do we hear about it everywhere these days? Thanks to the internet, disinformation is everywhere these days. New technologies have made it easy to create false information that looks real, even when it isn't. Original photo, edited photo. Click. Yikes. I'm not going to read the whole book, obviously, but you get the idea. This is an amazing book. I don't usually recommend buying books. I usually, can't say that, well, I do, but I mean, like, it's great to go in the library, but this is an absolute must. Okay, so the other one I have is Front Country. Here's the cover. That's by Sarah St. Antoine. And this is a new one to me. I haven't read it or even perused it, but I'll tell you what it says. Ginny Shepherd is glad to be in Montana for a month of backcountry camping before she starts high school. The world is on fire. That's the awful truth. And Ginny would much rather be hiking in the mountains than doing the summer college prep classes her parents think will help her future. Because the future? Who even knows what that is anymore? But once Ginny gets to camp, things get complicated fast. She meets her trip mates, 5 challenging, rebellious, tech-addicted boys, and she finds out Track Finders is designed for kids who need extra support. Instead of feeling free as a bird, Ginny feels trapped and betrayed. As her friendships with her fellow campers deepen on the trail, though, Ginny starts to see new sides of them and of herself. Maybe out here in the backcountry, she'll actually find what she needs to face the front country again. Set in Montana's sweeping alpine wilderness, this epic adventure captures the tremendous heartbreak of realizing the world isn't okay at all, and shows how that knowledge and what we choose to do with it shapes us into who we are. So I believe that this is, well, it's talking about teenagers, so I think it's designed as a young adult book, or at least a preteen book, I'm not sure. So I'm going to pre-read this before or at least pre-read some of it before I decide if I'm going to read it as a read aloud, if I'm going to assign reading for my older kids, my high schooler, or my grade schooler. I'm not sure yet. But it sounds interesting. So, that's those. That on the floor. Okay, I also wanted to mention, and I forgot to grab the book. Where's the book? 1 second. Okay, I found it. So this is the Essential Social Skills Handbook for Teens. I did receive this for review as well. And so I've already reviewed that. But I decided that I'm going to probably use this in my high schooler's health class next year. I think even though social skills isn't quite health, I think that'll be a good fit. And I think that it will be a good reminder. It goes over, it's by Richard Meadows. And the subtitle is Fundamental Strategies for Teens and Young Adults to Develop Self-Confidence, Overcome Anxiety, and Expand Their Social Network in the 2020s. And it talks about who are you, self-esteem, confidence, being your best self, communication, navigating social media, managing social anxiety, we have a situation, and manage your stress before it manages you. So I thought that was a good read, and it will probably be very helpful. The other one that I want to mention that I got for review way back when is Geometry is as Easy as Pie. And I intend to buy the other book that is similar to this. It's a follow-up. This is a follow-up to the Geology is a Piece of Cake, because I want to do geology this year. So this is by Tumble Home, Katie Copens. There it is there. And it's all about geometry with color, shiny color photos. It's like this talking about pi, what pi is, or perimeter. There's even recipes in here. Angles. There's actual pie recipes in here. And so I thought this was really cute. And we're going to do geometry next year. So we'll focus more on geometry next year. We do it every year, but... So that was that. Alright, those are well, that's not true. There's another one that's for 2 more that are for review, but I don't have them in a different section. So next I wanted to recommend some read alouds that we've done this year and a little bit of last year that the kids, well, my son doesn't like anything, but my daughter recommended to other kids. I asked her which ones she would recommend, and these are the ones that she chose. I have most of them, but not all of them to show you. So her very favorite was Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. You can use this as a read aloud, or you can use it as a book study as well. There are book studies online. This I read when I was a kid, and I loved it so much that as soon as I was able to find another copy, because I don't know what happened to my copy, we read it, and the kids loved it. If you're not familiar, it's actually based on a real story of in the early 1800s of an Indian girl. By that they mean indigenous or Native American. That was the term that was used back then. Spent 18 years alone on a rocky island far off the coast of California. So they don't know much about her, so the story is fiction, but it's based off of that. It says, in the Pacific, there's an island that looks like a big fish sunning itself in the sea. Around it, blue dolphins swim, otters play, and sea elephants and seabirds abound. Once Indians, also lived on the island, and when they left and sailed to the east, one young girl was left behind. This is the story of Karana, the girl who lived alone for years on the island of the Blue Dolphins. Year after year, she watched one season pass into another and waited for a ship to take her away. But while she waited, she kept herself alive by building a shelter, making weapons, finding food, and fighting her enemies, the wild dogs. It is not only an unusual adventure of survival, but also a tale of natural beauty and personal discovery. And what I liked is at the back of the book, it has an author's note, which talks about what they do know about the real girl who was stranded on the island. And, or not stranded, well, stranded alone on the island. So, really great book. Highly recommend. A read aloud for probably ages 8 to and up. Ages and up, and if as a study book for ages 10 and up. My daughter said this was her favorite book. I also recommend The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. You may recognize the author. That's the author of Charlotte's Web, which I haven't done with the kids, but personally love the book. But yeah, haven't done it with the kids because my son did it when he went to public school, and my daughter is deathly afraid of spiders. And so the idea that there's a spider in it, even though it's a friendly spider, makes her not want to read it. So we'll hope to get to it in a couple of years. But this was really good and recommended for like ages 4 to, well, any age really, but ages like, this is better for the younger kids as well. My kids were 8 and 12 when I read it. 8 and 11 when I read it, and they really liked it. Cannot go through a book recommendation for homeschoolers without mentioning this. The Wild Robot escapes, and we're eagerly awaiting the release of The Wild Robot Returns, I think it's called. I was skeptical seeing every homeschooler talk about how much they love this, except for 1 or 2 which didn't like it. And I thought, it can't be that good. No, it's that good. We loved it. We read this one, then went right to this one. And we can't wait. It's not till September that the 3rd one comes out, so I will be buying that. I don't buy very many books. But I'll be buying that because I love the book and I want to be able to, the kids will read it again and again if they want to. What book we're reading right now, so we're not done it yet, is Song for a Whale. I just realized that's Song for a Whale. I thought it was Song of the Whale. By Lynn Kelly. And this is awesome. We've been tying it in with other things, even though this is our read aloud, by studying the novel a little bit, just with some like comprehension questions, and nothing big. But we also watched some videos and listened to some whale songs and learned about why this whales make songs and how different they are. And since the main character's deaf, we've been learning about disabilities, including deafness, and learning to sign our names in ASL, and a bunch of other cool things, writing our name in Braille for blind people, all kinds of stuff. So I recommend that. I don't have it in my hands, but my daughter really loved Stuart Little and wanted to recommend that, and Pippi Longstockings as well. Now for study books, my son has studied Tuck Everlasting. He doesn't like pretty much anything, so it's kind of hard to say, oh, he liked it or he didn't, whatever. He tolerated it. He thought it was semi-interesting, and we did a little study on that. I do recommend that, but it's tough reading, maybe, a little bit. So, not tough reading, but I don't know, I'd say recommend 9 and up, maybe. The Giver by Lois Lowry, my favorite book. Again, with the the Blue Dolphins, one I read as a kid and loved so much. This is actually the book that I originally got as a teenager for myself after I read it in school, and I still have it. That's how much I loved it, I didn't get rid of it. So I had my now 12-year-old study it when he was 11, and it has, it's really good. I think it's perfect for around age 12. Now this one here, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, could absolutely be done with my preteen, but I had my high schooler read it because she was learning about 20th century history, and so I wanted to have her read a book about the 30s, and so this shows about how race was like treated in the 30s. So this was a good one. So this one about the way the race is in the 30s and stuff. It's an old-fashioned book. Well, I mean, it takes place in the 30s, but it's written in both the 70s. My daughter found it very hard to read. If your child gets emotional with people being treated unfairly, it's going to be a hard book to read. But it's good to know about the way people were treated and how much, if at all, it's changed. One that you may not have heard of, At Risk by Alice Hoffman. I don't really read fiction anymore, except for when I read with the kids, but this was my favorite author when I was younger. She has all kinds of different kinds of books. This one here was written, it's a bit old too, was written in the 80s, and it's about a girl who has who develops AIDS. But this is in the 80s, remember? So this is when AIDS was recently changed to the name AIDS, and people still had, oh my God, she has AIDS, get away from me, you're going to give it to me kind of vibes. So I had my daughter read this to learn about, I was going to have her read it to learn about the 80s, but I ended up having her read it as a regular read aloud for English. And she said she really enjoyed it. It was interesting seeing how life was like in the 80s and how people treated her, even though it was sad in parts. So that's recommended. I have a lot of books to recommend. It's already 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, I gotta go faster. Okay, another one that I thought I had with me. Here it is. Number the Stars. Another one that I read as a kid. Another one that I love. Didn't have my own copy, so I bought this copy. And I had my daughter read it as part of the learning about the 40s, because it's about the German troops and the Jews and the way that they were treated in the 40s during the World War II. But I'm gonna read it as a read aloud or a book study, I should say, for my Rising Read 4 and Grade 7 next year when we do history. So that's that one. All right, now I wanted to also share a few other books that aren't read alouds, but that I used for kids in school. One is called Deaf Utopia, a memoir and a love letter to a way of life by Niall DeMarco with Robert Sieber. I got this for review after I asked for it because I had heard good things about it. And I had my daughter read it last semester. Well, I don't think she actually finished it, but she was supposed to read it last semester while learning ASL to kind of learn more about deaf culture. So this engrossing memoir, he shares stories, both heartbreaking and humorous, of what it means to navigate a world built for hearing people. More than a memoir, it's a cultural anthem, a proud and defiant song of deaf culture, and a love letter to American Sign Language. Highly recommend. I read enough of it to know that it's great, and I want to actually read the whole thing at some point. Okay, I did that book, I did that book, I did that book, I did those books. Alright, I think the last thing I want to do, the last section, is readings for mom. Now, this could, of course, be dad or grandma as well, but I'm the mom, so this is for me. One thing I wanted to mention, I forgot something. This book I got for free. Tales of Fearless Girls. Not for review, but like just free in a little free library. This looks awesome. Forgotten Stories from Around the World, retold by Isabel Otter. Heavy on the text, but there are pictures. And they're stories from, like I said, around the world. Fairy tales date back thousands of years and were passed down through oral tradition. In many of these stories, girls were portrayed as weak, jealous, or boring and were expected to keep their opinions to themselves. But in this collection of fairy tales from cultures all around the world, the heroines are brave, clever, and funny. They don't always make the right decisions, but they aren't just like real girls. Sorry, they're just like real girls. And they certainly don't need to be rescued by anyone. It includes background information on the stories, talking points, and index. So this looks like something that we're going to use next year somehow. Just haven't decided how yet. Maybe read one a week. Okay, so for parents, in amongst all your reading that you do, your say fiction that you read for fun, or nonfiction you read to learn more about education or homeschooling or whatever it is that you like to read, I also like to try, it doesn't always work, but I try to read a book that's about the topic that my kids are learning about, so I can be more knowledgeable, but also just, I love to learn, so. For example, we are doing Flight this month, and so I read Flights of Fancy by Richard Dawkins, Defying Gravity by Design and Evolution. This book I got for a review many, many months ago, maybe even years. I never got around to reading, and so when we decided to learn about flight, I thought this would be a perfect thing to read. I have some bookmarks in here that are falling out because there's some things I want to show the kids or read to the kids that have to do with flight. This is both animals and man-made things. So this is an awesome book. Nonfiction, hardcover. I mean, it might not have softcover too, but this is a hardcover. Great book. I also wanted to recommend some other books that I don't have the hard copies of anymore because I got them for review and don't have them anymore, and because I passed them on, or I got them from the library, so therefore I don't have them anymore because I got them from the library. And I don't know how to show pictures like this yet, so If you're a homeschool YouTuber or any other YouTuber watching this and you know how to add pictures, please email me and let me know. How do I do that? So there's Generation Sleepless, Why Tweens and Teens Aren't Sleeping Enough and How We Can Help Them by Heather Turgeon, MFT, and Julie Wright, MFT. I forget what MFT stands for, but this book was awesome. Sorry if I look like I'm looking up. It's because I'm reading my computer. I review books on smsnonfictionbookreviews.com. I will link that below. So not the kids read alouds, but the nonfiction that I read gets reviewed there. So I highly recommend this book to all parents and even teens themselves, is what I said at the end. Perfect book on how to encourage sleep in your children, and definitely a must read. I will link directly to the reviews of these books so you can see what I had to say. ADHD and Emotional Intelligence, Positive Parenting Techniques to Use When Raising an Explosive Child with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And that's by Roxana C. This was a great book, too. I also got it for review, but I read it. I don't even read ebooks, and I read it as an ebook, and I loved it enough to read the whole thing, so that shows you that it was good. I'm trying to read up on ADHD because my two younger ones both have it. Well, the ADD, they don't have the hyperactivity, but as the book explained, it's more to it than that. Hyperactivity is not just like, they don't really classify as ADD and ADHD anymore. But the book was good, and it went into emotional intelligence, which other books don't, so that was really helpful. Trying to wrap up, sorry. Also, How to Raise a Wild Child, The Art and Science of Falling in Love with Nature, by Scott D. Sampson. This was a book I got from the library. I rated it 4 stars. Basically, I said, if you're looking for help bringing more nature into your children's life, this book is perfect. Whether you want to incorporate nature study in your homeschool or just want your children to appreciate nature more in general, this is your guide. So, highly recommended for those who want to increase nature's presence in their own and their children's lives. Definitely recommend that one. And I think I said all the books. Do I have all the books? I said all the books. I think so. I love books. If you like nonfiction book reviews, check out my blog. If you have read any of these or want to read any of these, let me know what you thought. If you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you aren't already so you can see my new videos coming out. And don't forget this was a collaboration, so you need to go into the description, and find the link to the playlist so that you can check out the other moms who have talked about books that they recommend, don't recommend, or want to use in their homeschool, or whatever they talk about books, just books in general. So make sure you do that, and I'll see you another day. Thanks, bye.